The spaceport restaurant was alive with lights, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Humans, aliens, and hybrid beings moved around, their voices blending into a constant hum that filled the large hall. Holographic menus floated above every table, shifting colors and shapes as customers tapped on them. Waiters moved quickly between tables, balancing trays of exotic drinks and dishes that no human had ever imagined. Among them, Mark moved with calm precision, carrying plates and glasses without ever bumping into anyone. His brown eyes scanned the room constantly, alert, yet his movements were smooth, almost graceful. He had worked here for years and had learned to handle all kinds of customers, from polite diplomats to angry drunkards. At a corner table, Lyra sat slouched in her seat, her long hair falling over her glowing violet eyes. She was an alien from a wealthy family, known across multiple star systems for their power and influence. Tonight, she had decided to relax, or perhaps to show herself in a way she never did around her family. She had already finished several drinks, the effects showing in her slightly slurred speech and the occasional hiccup. She waved at a passing waiter and demanded attention in a loud, uneven voice. "Human," she called, pointing at Mark as he passed nearby. Her tone carried both authority and intoxication. "Come here at once. I need something special, something extraordinary." Mark approached her table with a polite smile. "Good evening, miss. May I take your order?" he asked calmly. His voice had a steady tone, reassuring and professional. He had learned that the best way to handle drunk customers was with patience and respect. No matter how unreasonable their demands might be, Lyra's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Don't just stand there. Bring me your best drink, the one that makes stars spin," she said, leaning forward. She gestured dramatically with one hand, but her other hand, unstable from drinking, accidentally caught the front of Mark's shirt. A sharp tear rang out as her grip snagged on the fabric. The room seemed to freeze for a moment. Mark looked down at his shirt, now partially torn, and then back at Lyra. He expected anger, yelling, or at least a loud complaint, but none came. Instead, she blinked at the rip, her cheeks flushing in embarrassment, though she tried to hide it behind a sly, drunken smile. "Oops," she muttered, half laughing, half gasping. "I didn't mean to." Mark remained calm. He bent slightly and adjusted the fabric, pressing it back into place as best as he could. "It's all right," he said. "Accidents happen. I'll manage." Something about the way he spoke made Lyra pause. She looked at him more closely for the first time. The shirt that she had torn barely contained the human's strong chest, muscles visible even under the fabric. Scars crisscrossed his arms and shoulders, evidence of battles fought, struggles survived. Mark moved with a quiet strength that seemed almost unnatural for a human, and it caught her off guard. Her intoxicated mind struggled to comprehend why she felt a sudden pull of respect, or is it curiosity? "Wait," she said, squinting at him. You're not like the others. Not like the weak humans we see on transport ships or in entertainment holo movies. She trailed off, unable to find the right words. Mark smiled faintly but didn't respond. Continuing to collect empty glasses from nearby tables, his attention was divided, but his calm, composed presence drew Lyra's eyes again. She leaned back in her chair, suddenly feeling a mix of embarrassment, fascination, and a strange sense of admiration. The other patrons whispered quietly, stealing glances at the scene. Some were shocked by the audacity of the alien girl, others by the patience of the human waiter. Lyra felt heat rise to her cheeks, a mix of shame for her actions and intrigue about the humans standing before her. She hadn't expected to feel this way, especially not tonight, when she had planned to be carefree and uninhibited. "Bring me that drink," she said finally, her voice lower, less commanding. "And, make it strong." She waved a hand dismissively, though her gaze stayed fixed on Mark. As Mark prepared the drink, Lyra's mind wandered. She thought about the humans she had seen in the past, in the holas, and in passing on transport ships. They were often portrayed as weak, fragile, or insignificant. But this one standing here, quietly fixing his torn shirt without anger, moving with strength, showing scars of survival, was different. He wasn't like the humans she had underestimated before. Mark returned with her drink, setting it carefully on the table. "Here you go," he said, his voice steady. "I hope this is to your satisfaction." Lyra reached for the glass, but her hands trembled slightly, not from the alcohol, but from a mix of excitement and awe. She took a sip, then another, trying to regain her composure. "It's perfect," she said, though her words were softer now, tinged with something she didn't quite understand. The night continued. But Lyra couldn't stop watching Mark. He moved from table to table, helping guests with a quiet competence that made the chaos around him seem almost organized. Every time he passed her table, she felt a jolt of something she had never felt before. Respect, admiration, curiosity, and maybe even the beginnings of something deeper. She tried to hide her fascination, laughing loudly at minor jokes and spilling a little drink intentionally to seem carefree, but her gaze always returned to the human waiter, observing the way he interacted with others, the way he handled difficulties, and the quiet strength in his stance. At one point, a group of larger alien patrons began to tease her, mocking her drunken state and daring her to cause more chaos. Lyra opened her mouth to respond, but before she could act, Mark intervened. Calmly, he approached the table, speaking in a firm but polite voice that immediately silenced the troublemakers. He didn't raise his voice or threaten them. He simply stated the rules and reminded them of respect for others. The aliens grudgingly complied. Lyra watched this silently, impressed. Here was a human, not rich, not powerful. It's not a member of the elites standing strong and commanding respect in a room full of aliens who were far more physically imposing than him. She felt a strange warmth in her chest, a new understanding forming. Humans, she realized, were not as weak or insignificant as she had thought. As the night wore on, Lyra stumbled toward the exit, feeling both embarrassed and exhilarated. Her friends laughed and teased her, but she barely noticed. Her mind was focused entirely on the human waiter, on the way he moved, the calm authority he radiated, and the hidden strength she could sense beneath his quiet exterior. Outside, the spaceport lights glowed against the dark sky, and ships hummed as they prepared for departure. Lyra leaned against the railing, trying to clear her head and make sense of her feelings. She had come here expecting a night of fun and indulgence. Yet she had encountered something entirely unexpected, a human who was extraordinary in ways she hadn't imagined. Her friends called for her to join them, but Lyra shook her head. She needed a moment. She needed to think. Something about Mark had left a mark on her that no amount of alcohol or distraction could erase. She realized that this human was different, not just in strength, but in character, courage, and presence. In a way she couldn't yet fully understand, he had earned her respect, something she rarely gave lightly as she walked back toward her ship. She made a quiet promise to herself. She would learn more about this human, not because of curiosity alone, but because he had shown her a side of humanity that was remarkable, unexpected, and deeply compelling. Her drunken mistake, the ripped shirt, had turned into the beginning of something entirely new, and in that moment, Lyra felt a strange sense of anticipation, a pull toward the human she had encountered tonight. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew one thing for certain. Humans were not as simple as she had been led to believe, and Mark, the calm and capable waiter, had just proven it. The night ended with Lyra staring at the stars above the spaceport, the hum of the city fading slightly in the background. She felt a mix of embarrassment, admiration, and curiosity, all tangled together. She had made a scene, torn a shirt, and caused whispers among the crowd, but in the process, she had discovered something far more intriguing: the quiet power and resilience of a human being, and she couldn't wait to see him again. The next morning, the spaceport city buzzed with activity as ships took off and landed, leaving trails of glowing plasma in the sky. Lyra, still feeling the remnants of last night's drunken haze, paced near the transport docks. She had barely slept, her mind filled with thoughts of the human waiter. Mark. His calm confidence and quiet strength had left a mark on her that she could not ignore. She wanted to see him again, not as a drunk, impulsive alien causing chaos, but as someone she could truly understand. As she approached the busy docks, she spotted him immediately. Mark was helping organize shipments of medical supplies for a refugee relief mission. Humans and aliens, young and old, were injured and in need of assistance. Some had scratches and bruises from attacks by pirates on nearby trade routes, while others were weak from long journeys. Mark moved quickly but carefully, giving instructions and guiding the volunteers with precision. He lifted a heavy crate of supplies effortlessly and handed it to a struggling alien woman. All without a single complaint. Lyra stopped in her tracks, astonished. This was the human she had encountered last night. The one she had impulsively embarrassed herself in front of, and yet here he was, showing courage, empathy, and skill beyond anything she had imagined. Her admiration grew stronger. She realized humans were not just physically capable, they possessed a rare combination of intelligence, resourcefulness, and moral strength. Mark noticed her standing at a distance and gave a polite nod. He didn't rush over or make a big deal. He continued his work, focused on helping others. Lyra watched, amazed at how naturally he commanded respect from both humans and aliens alike. It was not through wealth, status, or intimidation, it was simply through action, through integrity and competence. A sudden shout echoed from the far end of the docks. A small hovercraft, carrying injured civilians, had malfunctioned. Sparks flew from the engine, and it teetered dangerously on the edge of the landing platform. Panic spread quickly among the crowd. Lyra froze, unsure what to do, while others shouted and pointed. Without hesitation, Mark sprang into action. He ran toward the hovercraft, analyzing the situation as he went. With quick thinking, he grabbed a support cable and threw it to the struggling pilot, shouting instructions on how to stabilize the craft. He assessed the weight of the injured passengers and directed volunteers to move crates and supplies to balance the hovercraft. His movements were precise yet calm, as if the chaos around him could not touch his focus. Lyra's heart raced as she watched him. Every step he took, every command he gave, was executed flawlessly. She had never seen a human act with such courage and intelligence under pressure. The hovercraft finally steadied, and Mark climbed aboard to assist the passengers. He lifted a wounded child with ease and handed them to waiting medics. His body was strong, his muscles working seamlessly. Yet it was his mind and heart that truly impressed her. The crisis passed within minutes, thanks to Mark's quick action. The crowd erupted into applause, and even the high-ranking alien officials present nodded in respect. Lyra felt a mix of awe and humility. She had spent her life believing her species' status and wealth defined power. But here was a human, ordinary in appearance, achieving what many elites could not. After the chaos settled, Mark returned to organizing the supplies. Lyra approached him cautiously, unsure how to speak. She felt small, embarrassed by her behavior from the night before, yet compelled to express her respect. "Mark," she began, her voice soft. I wanted to apologize for last night. I acted foolishly." Mark looked up, his calm brown eyes meeting hers. "It's all right," he said simply. "You were drunk. It happens. No harm done." His smile was kind, genuine, and free of judgment. Lyra was struck again by his humility. She realized this was another reason why humans were remarkable, their ability to forgive and act with understanding. "Even when wronged, I didn't understand humans before," Lyra admitted, her words hesitant. "I thought we were stronger, smarter, better. But what I saw today, you're incredible." She couldn't find words strong enough to describe the respect and awe she felt. Mark nodded, as if he had heard this countless times from aliens. Yet she noticed no arrogance in his reaction. "Humans have their strengths," he said quietly. "We don't have wealth or power in the same way some species do, but we have courage, determination, and loyalty. That goes a long way." Lyra's mind reeled. She had always believed in status, influence, and the strength of her family. But in this human, she saw qualities that surpassed all of that. Courage, integrity, compassion. She felt a new sense of humility and respect. Realizing that true power was not in wealth or appearance, It was an action and character. Over the next few days, Lyra found herself returning to the docks. Finding reasons to be near Mark, she watched him interact with refugees, distribute supplies, and lead volunteer efforts. She saw humans and aliens alike look to him for guidance, trusting his judgment, respecting his decisions. And in every moment, she saw the qualities that had captivated her the night before: the calm strength, the empathy, the intelligence. One afternoon, as she observed him from a short distance, a small explosion rocked the far side of the dock. Debris flew, and several injured civilians cried out for help. Without hesitation, Mark sprinted toward the danger, assessing the situation instantly. He pulled a young alien boy from under falling debris and carried him to safety, and returned for a group of elderly humans trapped nearby. Lyra's heart pounded as she realized just how extraordinary he truly was. When the danger passed, she approached him again, this time with less hesitation. "Mark," she said, her voice steady now, "I've never seen anyone act like that. You saved lives today, and you didn't even hesitate. You're amazing." Mark wiped a bit of dust from his shirt and shrugged modestly. "I just did what needed to be done," he said. "Anyone else would have done the same. I just try to help where I can." Lyra felt a mixture of amazement and admiration. His humility made him even more remarkable. She realized that humans were extraordinary not because they sought glory, but because they acted with courage and integrity when it mattered most. And here was a human standing before her, demonstrating that every day. Over the following weeks, Lyra and Mark spent more time together, though initially in small, careful ways. She offered to assist with his volunteer missions, observing how he worked, learning from him, sometimes helping where she could. Through these moments, she saw the depth of human determination and resourcefulness. Mark never boasted, never demanded attention, and never sought recognition. Yet his actions inspired respect, admiration, and even awe from everyone around him. One evening, after a long day of aid missions, Lyra and Mark sat together near the edge of the spaceport. Watching ships streak across the starry sky, she turned to him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the departing ships. I didn't understand humans before," she said softly. "I thought we were stronger, smarter, more important. But you've shown me something else. Humans are extraordinary." Mark looked at her, a gentle smile on his face. "It's not just me," he said. "Humans have always been capable of great things. It just takes the right circumstances, the right choice, and the courage to act." Lyra nodded, feeling a sense of clarity and respect she had never known. She realized that her drunken mistake, the ripped shirt, the embarrassment had been the beginning of something far more meaningful. She had discovered the hidden strength, courage, and integrity of a human being in that moment. She made a silent promise to herself to understand humans better, to respect their unique qualities, and to never underestimate them again. And perhaps, in the process, to learn from Mark not just about courage, but about humility, action, and the quiet power that humans carried within themselves. From that day forward, Lyra's perspective on humans changed completely. She spoke with others about what she had witnessed, telling stories of a human who had acted with bravery and intelligence beyond measure. Some doubted her at first, thinking it impossible for a single human to achieve so much. But those who saw Mark in action knew the truth. Humans, ordinary in appearance, could accomplish extraordinary things. And for Lyra, it was no longer just admiration. She felt a growing bond with Mark, built not on wealth, status, or power, but on mutual respect, understanding, and the recognition of true strength. The human waiter, once the subject of a drunken mishap, had become a symbol of what her species often overlooked, that courage, character, and action mattered more than any superficial advantage. As they continued their work together at the docks, saving lives and helping those in need, Lyra realized something profound. Humans were not simply survivors in a galaxy filled with powerful species, they were extraordinary, and she had been fortunate enough to witness it firsthand, through the quiet, steadfast actions of one remarkable man. For the first time in her life, Lyra understood that true strength was not about status, beauty, or wealth. It was about courage, integrity, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. And she knew that she would carry that lesson with her forever. The night ended with the glow of distant stars, reflecting in the calm waters of the spaceport. Lyra looked at Mark, standing among humans and aliens alike, helping wherever he was needed, and felt a deep sense of awe. She had